Hi everyone, Shiloh here with another Make a Card with Me tutorial. This week I'm actually going to do the full tutorial start to finish, so you're going to see the coloring as well as putting the card together. So that's just me showing you the finished little birdie, and now we're going to actually color with our distress inks and our blending tools, even though we don't have any stencils. So this is something that I like to do. It kind of gives a neat, loose look to your image. So I'm just basically taking those little tiny blending brushes and I'm just tapping it into my lightest color. I have 3 different shades of browns, and then I'm just I tap a little of the excess off, and then I just lightly tap it onto the bird where I know I want the lightest color to be. So it's kind of the same idea for shading as any other shading, but you're just kind of dabbing the color. So it's just my blending brush is straight up and down, and I'm literally just dab or tapping it onto the bird. And then once I get the lightest color laid down, then I go in with the medium color and start putting that in onto the wings here. So I have sped this process up a little bit, obviously, just to make it a bit quicker. But the entire time that I am using these blending brushes and the distress inks, I am doing that same tapping motion. So it's a really simple way to lay down some color with a little bit of a different look to it. And if you don't happen to have any Copic markers or pencils, but you do have ink, you could certainly use this technique. So it's kind of awesome. And with these little tiny brushes, the great thing is that, like I say, if you don't have a stencil, you can still get in there and put your blending or your shading where you would like it. So I've got a couple of shades of green now, and I'm just going to go in over top of the branches there. And I'm not going to be in the lines, and I'm okay with that. Like, I like the way it looks loose. It's not really looking watercolory, but it's, gives kind of that soft, you can get away with being outside of the lines and a little bit messy, and that's okay with me anyway. So, if you don't like that look, then this is not going to be a technique for you, but yeah, I like it. Okay, and then we got to do those berries, and I chose to do some red berries, so a couple shades of red here. I think I have all the shades and all the colors listed in the description, so if you're curious about the actual distress ink colors that I've used, you can go ahead and check that out. So just dabbing onto the berries there with a light shade and a darker shade, just to try to do a tiny bit of shading. And then this is my final step. After I've got all the inking done, there are the odd little detail, like the beak, his little feet, that is really challenging to get any kind of ink on. So you can leave it, or I like to just go in now with my pencils and just kind of give it a little bit of a color in, basically. Really simple, really basic. I'm not doing anything super fancy here. Not a lot of blending, just basically adding in. And then I did kind of add in a little bit more shading as well here and there, as you can see on the bird's wings. And I like to finish off anything that I'm going to make Christmassy with Stickles or glossy accents. So today it's Stardust Stickles. And there's my little birdie all done. Nice, quick, and easy, and simple. So now we're moving on to our foliage. So I'm just showing you all the different die cuts there that I have. These are just random from my stash. This gate is actually a pre-die cut, like it's purchased that way. I've had it in my stash for some time, and I just thought it would make a neat little background. But I wanted it to look kind of like distressed metal. So literally, as you're watching me do this, I've never done this before. I just thought I would give it a shot. And so I took my bigger blending brushes and Distress inks, and again, I'm just kind of tapping it on because I liked how the brush left kind of a stipply look on my little gate or window or whatever you want to call this. And then I'm going in with a darker color now. So just kind of tapping it on, and I left, you'll see at the end here, but like it's got, basically ends up with 3 tones because you can see the original color, which was like an off-white, and then kind of an orangey brown, and then a dark brown. Again, the colors are listed below. And now I'm just going to add some color to these stems or boughs, and I'm just doing your typical ink blending. So just getting it on there, and I like to add a couple different colors just to give it texture and interest. So I'm not being picky. I am just slapping on some color. I did the first 2 branches there in Rustic Wilderness, and now I'm doing this one in Pine Needles. And then I think I do Forest Moss. Yes, there. See, I show you. So I'm just, slapping on the ink, and then I'll go back through and kind of add so that each branch has multiple colors. So it's not just a solid color, but each one has like a more of one color, if that makes sense. So now, yes, I'm just going in and adding a bit of, it just adds that texture, like I say, so adding a second color to each branch, and even third for some of them. So yeah. And then we've got everything all, once that's done, everything will be all nice and colored up, and we'll be ready to start our next step once we clean up. Okay, so I've got my background piece. It's embossed already, and I just went and sewed around the edge with just white, so white on white. And here I'm just showing you how you can pull your thread through to the back side. So you want to separate the threads that are on the front and the back, and then you just kind of take the long pieces, and you saw that I just kind of wiggled them there, and it creates these loops, as you can see. And then if you pull those loops through, it actually pulls the thread to all the thread to the back. So I don't know if you have ever done that little trick, but it is a great little way to finish off the front of your card or whatever you're sewing. I sometimes will just do the back pieces, tape them down, and then snip the front and let the threads hang, because I sometimes like that look too. But if you want a finished look, it's a great little trick. Okay, so we're just getting some gold thread organized here to put behind my little birdie. And with the metallic thread, what I've been finding to work the best is if I just kind of let it fall, it kind of stays somewhat loopy, because metallic thread, if you try to loop it, it just wants to go straight a lot. So I take advantage of the natural way that it falls and just kind of gather it a little bit more. Take my hot glue on the back of that birdie and stick it down. I use my mat for this because I can push it nice and flat. If you push on the birdie while it's still warm there, the hot glue, it will go nice and flat, which is awesome. And now I'm just making another little bundle off to the side here on that same little mat. So what's so great about this mat is it peels right off once it's cool. So I can just squirt the glue right on to the mat and add my boughs into it. So super handy. So we actually make 2 little bunches, and you'll see what we're going to do with those in a minute. Okay, so I'm going to stamp my sentiment now for you, or for me, but so we are doing a Versamark stamp, and then I'm going to do some detailed gold embossing powder, and we're going to heat set that. So just giving it a good ink here, and we're going to pull out that gold embossing powder. my best friend was kind to give me a little portion of hers, so I'm still using that up from I don't know when. That's why it's in a film case, so that gives you an idea of how long ago that was, because I don't think you can get those very easily anymore. Okay, here we are heat setting, and yeah, pretty little gold finish. And I don't have a dye for this, so I'm just going to give it a quick fussy cut. I like that look a lot right now. A lot of stamps have the coordinating dyes, and I like how it looks. But I can also do it with my scissors, and I don't mind. I know some people really don't like to do fussy cutting, but I really don't mind. So, okay, so here's all my pieces. We're just peeling them off the mat now. And we are ready to kind of start putting this card all together. So I'm just kind of eyeballing here. How do I want this? And then I'm going to pull that mat back out and stick everything onto this window or gate before I adhere it to the card base. So, and I'm using my hot glue. I do use my hot glue a fair bit. When I'm feeling really confident that I know where something is going to go, I will use my hot glue. And I always use it when I do the thread technique behind the birdie there that I did. And I am finding that I'm turning to my hot glue more and more. It's a really cost-effective way to get stuff stuck down for me with my cards, because I make so many cards. So, so yeah, it's been a good way to do that. Okay, and then I put some foam tape on the back of the bird and the thread, and we're just going to attach that there in the middle of the boughs or branches or whatever you want to call them. And there we've got a whole piece now that can go onto the base of the card. And I've decided that I want to use dimensional tape on the back of that as well, just to pop it up from the base, give it some more interest. And we're just gonna add a little piece at the top of the gate there too, just so that it doesn't, like, obviously there's lots of holes, so just a little piece just to keep it from smashing down, basically. Just keeps it up higher as it would. Okay, and then before I attach it to the base of my card, I actually remembered, yay, to film doing the splatter. So I've got some gold paint. This one is by Paper Artsy, and we're just going to do some little fine gold droplets. So I just thinned out that gold paint a little bit with a bit of water, and yeah, we're just tapping. I wanted it everywhere, so I went tap crazy. I also masked off the little birdie's eye there. You can see that. So just because I don't want to get a big blob over his eyeball. And then this is actually going to be the inside of my card. So I've pre-stamped, not on camera, sorry, a sentiment and a little pine bough there. And I'm just adding a little bit of gold to that as well. And now that that's all dry, I'm just showing you if you can see the splatter there. And we're going to attach this to our card base. I just use double-sided tape for this part. But of course you can use whatever you like. I think the double-sided tape is my go-to most of the time for this. And it's a top folding A2 card, if you're curious. So I actually pre-make, oh, you can see I got a little bit of, there was a spot of gold that wasn't quite dry. And so I got a little bit on there, and I didn't want to get it everywhere, so I just dabbed that up. But almost all my cards are A2 top folding cards. I actually pre-make all of the card bases just while I'm watching a show or something, so I have a stack of them ready to go when I want to make cards. And I'm just adding a little adhesive white photo corner here to the one corner before I stick that down completely. A little bit of an afterthought. Usually I will attach that before I try to stick it to the card base. And now we want to put our sentiment on. I just used a glue dot for this. Yeah, when I have things like this, I just want it to be really nice and stuck, so glue dots are a good go-to. Or I guess your glue gun would be another great option, but use your preference. That's just what I do. And then to finish off my card, I chose to use these sparkly enamel dots from Simple Stories. I just have a few left from another project, so I thought I would take this opportunity and use them mostly up. Always feels good to use things up in your stash, or at least I love it when I can finally say, yay, it is gone and done and complete. So, and I am just using the tip of my craft knife actually to peel those off, because I find if I try to do it with my fingers, I make a mess of it. And that, oh, I guess I got to put the inside of the card in. So just showing you that, which again is just attached with a double-sided tape. I almost always add this second piece of cardstock into the center of my card, just because it balances out. I find it balances out the card, because I put so much stuff on the front. If I don't put anything into the inside like this, it is kind of almost top heavy and it won't stand as nice. So I've found that adding that makes a big difference to how nice it stands and displays once you've given it to someone. And I guess this is my final touch, adding a little made by stamp and signing my name in. I have a nice gold gel pen. I do that with all my cards, so. And there we go. That's it. That is the card of the day. I thank you so much for watching. And oh, and I'm showing you my original. I usually make 2 cards, so there's the same but different. So you can see the different, all the details here in the photos. Thank you all so much for watching today, and I'd love some feedback about what you thought of the length of this video. Have a great day, everybody.